First, let's look at the fact that the gospel brings about faith. See, it's very similar to the theme of Colossians I stated earlier. Christ is all I need, and I need to want nothing else. So there's the truth, and then there's the fact that I've got to put my faith in Him. I've got to trust Him. I've got to rely upon Him. We need to rely upon Christ, and that is all. Now, if you're not a Christian here this morning, do you believe the gospel? Now, I can hear you asking the question, why would you believe the gospel? Why should you believe the gospel? And I answer that question with another question. What else are you going to believe? What else is there that would give you hope? What else is there that would actually solve your problem, which is sin? Let's walk through the options. One option you have that you can believe is that there is no God. We all just happen to be here by chance. If that's really what you believe, I think you're fooling yourself, and I think you even know you're fooling yourself. Life is beautiful. We were created to live. We were created to have life. And all you have to do is go to a funeral and see how unnatural and destructive and disharmonious that is. We were created to have life and to enjoy life. Life is beautiful and complex. It demands a designer. It demands a creator. Life is beautiful. That's why we should go to deaths or to funerals often, to be reminded that death is a harsh reality that is opposed to how we were created to live. Death is not the way it's supposed to be. We should rejoice with births. If you've ever been to a birth, it's miraculous. It's amazing all the things that take place to bring about this very fragile life. If you're denying God's existence, I believe you're only doing so to reject Him because of your love for sin. So I'm going to assume there is a God. I believe we all know there is a God and that we were created to have life. So that leaves us with two options. Well, it leaves us with one clear option. There is a God, and we will have to give an account for what we have done. Now, I know that there's a lot of other options between those two, but this is the really main focus here. This is what every world religion teaches. There is a God, He is good, and we will have to give an account. Every religion other than Christianity says this, though. You need to have enough good deeds to outweigh your bad deeds. You need to have a balance so that you do enough good to outweigh your bads. We all know we sin. We all know there's evil. But we fool ourselves into thinking, if I just do enough good, God will accept me and He'll overlook my bad. The problem with this is there's no way to remove the taint of sin once we're committed to it. There's no way to remove the wrath of God that is on our sin of rebelling against Him. Again, we're fooling ourselves to think that we can actually remove sin by being better. We fool ourselves by thinking we can remove the bad by being good. No, God is holy and He calls us to be holy. Even our efforts to be more righteous are self-righteous and bring more condemnation upon us. We can do nothing that pleases God. This is why the gospel truth is so unique. The word of truth, that is the gospel, it is unique because it says you don't have to work to make yourself better and more presentable to God. It says somebody else will do that for you. The gospel says that God Himself will do it for you. See, the gospel says that Jesus Christ is God Himself who came down to take upon Himself a humanity just like ours, except for sin. He was the one innocent, righteous person that pleased God, that had a life that was pleasing to God, that was perfectly obedient. But He was put to death. Because if we believe in Him, God will no longer judge us for our sin. God will judge Him for our sin. See, He's the perfect substitute. We don't have to make ourselves better. God makes us better. God forgives us of our sin. He nails it to the cross. So that's the beauty of the gospel, friends. God comes and stands in our place. He dies on our behalf. We no longer have to follow rules and regulations to make ourselves fit for God. We place our faith in Christ. Now, what does it mean to place your faith in Christ? I actually have a great illustration from a recent event. We went hiking, Ben and the Hodge boys and I, and I carried a big backpack, and it got really heavy. And Chris Hodge, who was way more fit than I, he's sitting there without a backpack, and so I asked Chris, would you carry my backpack? So that backpack was weighing on me. It was heavy. And I had to humble myself and belittle myself and admit that I was struggling and give him the backpack. And boy, was it worth it. Because there was a lot of big, steep hills up ahead that I didn't know about and he didn't know about. You see, I completely released that weight and I put it on Chris. I leaned upon him. I relied upon him. I gave the whole thing over to him. And then he carried it. So that's what we do with our sin. We stop walking around with the guilt. We stop walking around with the wrath of God looming over our head. We stop walking around with our sin debt. And we give it to Christ, who nails it to the cross by allowing himself to be nailed to it. We trust him with our sin, with our death, with the guilt that we have. And he takes it away. We rely upon him. We lean upon him. We trust him. It takes humility. It takes humility to say, I need someone from outside of myself. I cannot bear this load alone. Friends, Christ is that good friend. He is that big brother who takes away our sin and the wrath of God, but only when we believe in him. Christian, do you believe the gospel? Have you truly released that sin debt to Christ? Do you have peace that you no longer have to please God with your life in the sense that you earn righteousness, but you've truly released it all? You lean upon him. Do you have peace? Or do you continue to be restless and wondering if you have been good enough to receive God's grace? Do you have rest? Or do you continue to add rules and regulations that keep you in fellowship with Christ? Give him your burden.